In this video, we'll be taking a look at the college football matchups for November 8th, 2025, and I'll break everything down with free winning picks so you can bet smarter and win bigger. But first, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you get our picks the second they drop, because when the lines move, the early birds cash in. And if you want the full winning sport picks experience, head over to wspicks.com and check out our VIP packages, or grab a free consultation with one of our professional sports consultants for the sharpest edge you'll find anywhere. That's where the real plays live. We are your bookmaker's worst nightmare. These are the games we're hammering, the ones the books can't afford you to bet. This is Winning Sport Picks. The free picks are about to drop, and they're coming in hot. Let's start with Temple versus Army. Temple is catching 7, and the total is sitting at 45.5. This type of matchup always comes down to tempo control and red zone execution, and Temple has actually been more competitive in these grinder-type games than the market gives them credit for. When they're underdogs by a touchdown or more, they tend to drag opponents into long possessions and play the clock like a weapon. Army, meanwhile, relies heavily on field position and short field scoring opportunities, and when they're forced into longer drives, their efficiency drops off fast. When you look at November tendencies, Temple usually performs above expectation, especially when the weather forces teams into slower offensive rhythm. Army has been inconsistent closing games, and those late game stalls open the door for backdoor covers. Everything about this spot screams tighter than the spread, and the matchup leans toward a low variance flow, long drives, conservative fourth down decisions, and both teams trying to avoid mistakes. We're rolling with Temple +7 and under 45.5. Next, James Madison takes on Marshall. James Madison is laying 13.5, and the total is sitting at 54. This is the kind of game where market perception inflates one side based on reputation, not situational reality. James Madison has been strong at home, strong as a favorite, and strong in matchup-specific metrics. But when you expand to road spots and mid-season November games, their margins shrink dramatically. Marshall, on the other hand, tends to step up specifically in these disrespected home dog roles. When they're catching double digits, they shorten the field, increase run rate, and force their opponent to win through sustained execution instead of explosive plays. Historically, this conference matchup trends toward tighter margins, with Marshall covering big numbers more often than not. The total's movement also reflects uncertainty, a push and pull between expected explosiveness and mid-season fatigue. Expect a grinding pace early, tactical possessions, and a game that refuses to blow open. We take Marshall +13.5 and under 54. Now we shift to Colorado versus West Virginia. Colorado is +6, and the total is 53. This matchup comes down to rhythm. Colorado thrives when games become spaced out, sideline to sideline battles, while West Virginia prefers compact drives and physical trench control. Historically, Colorado performs better as an underdog than as a favorite, especially on the road, where they lean into unpredictability and aggressive fourth down decisions. West Virginia is still the more stable team, but they've struggled covering mid-range spreads due to inconsistent second-half adjustments and slow offensive starts. Colorado tends to come out fast in November games, forcing opponents into catch-up mode earlier than expected. That dynamic shapes the total as well. Early scoring bumps, then game flow slows as adjustments kick in. With this spread, the numerical edge points toward Colorado, keeping it competitive deep into the fourth. We're taking Colorado +6 and under 53. Next up, SMU versus Boston College. SMU is laying 10, and the total is 54. This game showcases a contrast in pace. SMU prefers tempo and quick series, while Boston College leans heavily on time of possession and drive length. SMU traditionally handles these stylistic matchups well early, but tends to flatten out late, especially when favored by big numbers. Boston College often overperforms as double-digit dogs because they force the opposing offense into long, sustained drives instead of quick strikes. November market patterns also lean toward tighter underdog performance, especially for teams that rely on ball control. The total at 54 reflects expected dual-flow scoring, bursts early, then heavier defensive adjustments as possessions shrink. The spread is simply too wide for the tendencies of this matchup. We like Boston College +10 and under 54. Finally, Indiana versus Penn State. Indiana is plus 14.5 with a total at 50. Indiana's season trends show clear patterns. They play up to competition when the spread is inflated and down to competition when the line is tight. Penn State remains the stronger, more consistent team, but they've struggled in games where they're expected to dominate from wire to wire, especially against opponents who slow tempo and limit explosive play opportunities. Indiana fits that mold perfectly. November football also shifts toward defensive discipline, fewer possessions, and more field goal-driven scoring. Indiana, as a heavy underdog, historically covers more often in slow, controlled games where both teams trade long drives instead of trading fireworks. The total at 50 is a reflection of uncertain pace expectations, but everything about the matchup leans toward the under. We're taking Indiana plus 14.5 and under 50. Now listen to me, those are the free picks, but the one game I am unloading on tonight, the game that's going to crush your bookie's soul, that's the VIP play of the day at WSPicks.com. This is the nuke, the hammer, the max bet, the one play I've circled, the game that will bury your bookmaker 6 feet under. When it hits, and it will, your bookie is going to need a doctor, a lawyer, and maybe even a priest. If you want to ride with me on the biggest bet of the day, get to WSPicks.com right now. To recap, we're riding Temple plus 7 and under 45.5, Marshall plus 13.5 and under 54, Colorado plus 6 and under 53, Boston College plus 10 and under 54, and Indiana plus 14.5 and under 50. These are the angles we're hammering today. This is Winning Sport Picks, where we don't just bet, we bury bookmakers. Smash that subscribe button, drop your favorite plays in the comments, and hammer that like button like you're hammering your bookie into the dirt. We're cashing, we're dominating, and tonight we're dancing on the grave of your bookmaker. Let's go!